Cardinals had a pretty phenomenal season this year. They hired the youngest manager in Major League Baseball already this offseason, and they fired their old manager in Mike Shildt. So they have already made some big decisions this offseason, but we're going to talk about what other decisions the St. Louis Cardinals should make in today's video. What's next for the St. Louis Cardinals after what was a pretty good year this year when they ended up making the wild card, lost to the Dodgers, obviously, with the Chris Taylor walk-off home run. But they still had a pretty good year, especially towards the later end of the season, which was really where they turned it on. They were a 500, below 500 team before that. But before I get to this video, 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. I'm going to need you to hit that subscribe button right now for great baseball content throughout the offseason. And yeah, we're going to have baseball content pumping on this channel throughout the offseason. And yeah, I've got videos coming. I've got this video, and then I've got another video that I'm going to film later about I'm not going to spoil it. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this video, though. So, what's next for the St. Louis Cardinals? They're all free agents. Let's go ahead and start off with that. Nolan Arenado has already said he will opt in to his contract, so nothing really too much to worry about with Nolan Arenado. It looks like he'll be back next year, and he's the key guy in their own free agents because they don't care about Carlos Martinez, Andrew Miller, nor Matt Carpenter. They can all three walk. They should absolutely let all three of these guys walk. There's no reason to bring back any of them. Carpenter is a guy who has been terrible, one of the worst players in the league off the bench. He was good at a time, but not anymore. Andrew Miller is a guy that's getting older. They don't really need him in their bullpen anymore. And Carlos Martinez is a guy that's just not really shown his ceiling. Can throw the ball very, very hard, but just never really shown much. And Nolan Arenado is the main guy here. He's got to come back this offseason because if he doesn't, their whole just team is screwed up. So Nolan Arenado had a great year this year with 34 home runs and a 255 batting average with a 312 on base percentage and a 494 slugging percentage. A great year this year. The batting average was down, but still, who cares? He was still as good of a player as he was in Coors. Needs this offseason: starting pitching, relief pitching, and a shortstop are their big needs this offseason. The shortstop's definitely a need. Paul DeJong, I don't really think you can trust this guy anymore. He just has not been good. He had a 197 batting average. Yes, he did post a lot of home runs, 19 home runs. But still, Paul DeJong's not a guy that I trust. He was drafted in the 4th round back in 2015. I think it's probably about time to give up on him by now. And Edmundo Sosa is not your future shortstop, not who I would want starting at the shortstop position. Now, their starting pitching obviously is going to get better. Dakota Hudson will be back next year. He's their first rounder back in 2016 and has been pretty solid when on the mound. Michaelis is always a solid arm, going to eat up some innings out of the bullpen or out of the rotation. So I think Wainwright, Flaherty, Michaelis, Hudson obviously are going to be your starters next year. But their starting pitching this year was really, really bad. You had guys like John Lester, J.A. Happ starting every 5 days for this team, which is a big, big problem. And Jake Woodford, I don't think should be their 5-starter. Maybe somebody like Matthew Liberatore could step in. But I think they should really go after a big-time starting pitcher. Relief pitching is definitely a need as well. Their bullpen choked a lot of games for this team. It may not show, but their bullpen definitely choked a lot of these games. Jordan Hicks, maybe he'll be back next year and better because he sure wasn't this year when he did pitch. Now, not a very small sample size this year. Justice Cabrera, Alex Reyes, Giovanni Gallegos were very good, but Alex Reyes was too prone to just blow saves. They need somebody that can shut it down in the 9th inning. And, I mean, simply, they didn't have that this year. And a shortstop, like I said, is a big need. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the Cardinals' free agent targets because I think there's 5 guys that they should target here, 2 bigger, and then 2 others. Now, one that they need to target is Robbie Ray, who was with the Toronto Blue Jays this year, and Robbie Ray was so good for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know what the Blue Jays did, but they did something magical because he had a 13-7 record this year with a 2.84 ERA and 32 starts this year. Was very reliable, very consistent this year, and was one of the reasons why the Blue Jays were just a game out of the playoffs this year. Robbie Ray is a very good option, a reliable option for a team that does need a lefty in that starting rotation because realistically they don't have a lefty in that starting rotation. Trevor Story is the next guy. Story is going to get a very big deal this year. He hit 24 home runs this year, 75 RBIs, and a 251 batting average. Now, obviously, that's elevated a little bit in Coors as well because it wouldn't be nearly as good if it wasn't in Coors. But Story is a very good shortstop, very reliable shortstop, and I mean someone that I would like starting at shortstop if I was a Cardinals fan. We've got two bullpen arms from here. The first one's Corey Knebel in the regular season, 4-0 with a 2.45 ERA. You saw him even start some games in the NLCS, which was kind of crazy to see. But he had a very good year this year. I think they should definitely think about bringing him in this offseason. A guy that could shut it down in the 8th, 7th, whatever. Jake Digman's another guy, a left-hander who's been awfully reliable. In 2020, he had a 0.42 ERA. It was one of the best relievers in baseball. And a 3.86 ERA this year, but he was still solid and reliable out of the bullpen for this team. And or for the Oakland Athletics, and that's really what you want. Since they're not going to be bringing any of their other free agents back, they could definitely use a lefty in that bullpen besides Genesis Cabrera. Definitely could. And the final one is somebody who's a starter if they go like after Robbie Ray. Because they're obviously not going to get Robbie Ray and Trevor Story. It's going to be one or the other. I think they should probably go more for Robbie Ray and get somebody like a Freddie Galvis or something. Because Galvis had a pretty solid year this year. 242 batting average, posting 14 home runs and 40 RBIs between the Orioles and the Phillies, I think or whatever. Whichever two teams it was this year. Next is the Cardinals trade targets. The Cardinals have 5 trade targets that they need to go after. First one's German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies. Now, obviously, they've made trades with the Rockies in the past, and, the Rockies got a little finessed. But Marquez is a guy who's only 26 years old and is a guy that I think they should go after because we heard the rumors last year about German Marquez getting traded, and he never did get traded. So German Marquez here is somebody who would be very reliable. Now, I do think they could use a lefty-type guy in their starting rotation. But he was 12-11 with a 4.40 ERA, and that's only going to improve out of Coors Field because Coors Field is one of the worst parks to be pitching in all of Major League Baseball, actually the worst to be pitching in all of Major League Baseball. And his ERA is only going to improve coming to St. Louis. Next one's Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux is in a tough situation right now, being only 23 years old and look like a future really good player for the Dodgers. But it just doesn't seem realistic unless they really are not going to bring back Corey Seager this offseason. Then the idea of Gavin Lux is just not smart here. In 2021, 7 home runs, 46 RBIs, and a 242 batting average with the Dodgers, and he got sent down to AAA for some of the year. But I still think that Gavin Lux has a ton of potential. I don't think he's reached his potential yet. Now, a trade for Gavin Lux to the Cardinals would be a little bit interesting here. And Gavin Lux, I think, is definitely somebody who's going to be very productive for this team. And just get him out of Los Angeles. He does not need to be in Los Angeles. It's not the right place for him. Next up's another guy who probably could be packaged with German Marquez here, and that's Daniel Bard of the Colorado Rockies again. Daniel Bard's is 36 years old, and he's a guy that quit baseball for about 10 years and really started looking towards coaching. Now, this would be kind of to get Daniel Bard to where he could win maybe a World Series with the Cardinals because he's not winning one in Colorado. This year he was 7-8 with a 5.21 ERA, but posted a solid amount in 2020 with a 3.65 ERA in a smaller sample size, obviously. Next one is in division and kind of unlikely, but that's Kyle Hendricks of the Chicago Cubs. Hendricks, obviously, it's very unlikely that they trade to an in-division rival, but if they give enough, they will. And Kyle Hendricks is a great guy to go after. 31 years old, under team control, and he was 14-7 this year with a 4.77 ERA. I just don't think this trade will happen. That's why I'm not going to talk about it for a very long time. It's just because it's not realistic to happen to trade between two rivals. And the next one is another bullpen arm. That's Michael Fulmer of the Detroit Tigers, 28 years old. And he once looked like a future ace for the Tigers, but now he's a guy who's kind of just a reliever now. He went 5-6 this year with a 2.97 ERA in that kind of eighth inning role before Gregory Soto in the eighth. And the final thing that I've got in today's video is a German Marquez to the Cardinals mock trade. The Cardinals receiving this trade, German Marquez and Daniel Bard, in exchange for the Rockies receiving a third baseman in Malcolm Nunez, the third base prospect for the Cardinals, their number 8 prospect. Malcolm Nunez, let me pull him up right here. But they also will receive in this trade Joan Torres, an outfielder, the Cardinals' number 20 prospect, and finally Ali Sanchez, a catcher, the Cardinals' number 28 prospect. They're going to get 3 guys back, and they're probably not going to get finessed as much in this trade. But I also had to take into account with this trade, they get kind of finessed in that trade, but also like people are making points of why they really didn't get too finessed because they were pretty solid without him, honestly. But yeah, Malcolm Nunez is a third baseman. They have some third basemen in their farm system, but maybe he's the guy that could be a replacement. I thought about a Jordan Walker in this trade as well. I thought a Jordan Walker definitely could have been included in this trade, and he definitely could be, depending on what they're thinking as far as German Marquez. But Malcolm Nunez is currently in Double-A ball, and this year he had 9 home runs, 39 RBIs, and a 268 batting average. They'll be looking to get that power up with him, but yeah. Next up's Joan Torres, who's currently in high A ball with the Peoria Chiefs, or was, because the minor league season's over, obviously. 6 home runs, 32 RBIs, and 238 batting average. Has shown some signs of being decent in the past, but definitely had an off year this year, just like a lot of minor leaguers had. And the final one is a catcher, number 28 prospect, Ali Sanchez. He's kind of on the verge of being there, but I think he kind of needs a new scenery. And he had 4 home runs, 22 RBIs, 275 batting average in the minor leagues this year, not getting a lot of time in the majors this year. So, yeah, that's the trade that I think is most likely to happen is German Marquez to the Cardinals. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because, like I said, 85% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed, so I'm going to need you to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a like. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You better have subscribed. Thank you for watching, and peace.